Hey everybody, welcome to Grimsforge Gaming. Today we are going to cover an update to my ult generation build, and I've moved this around. You can play this on a pretty much any stamina class. Okay, I used to play this on my stamina necromancer, and you can play it on a stam warden, stamden. You can play it on a StamDK. So here it is on my StamDK. I think it's probably a really good fit for a stamina DK. Plays right into their battle roar passive, so you have ults uh, available at all times. So let's jump into the build and look at this, and then stick around after I go through the gear with you. I'm going to give you probably 3 or 4 changes that you can make to optimize this build. If you want it to be a 5k weapon damage or higher, and you want to run Malakath's Band on this, you can, and we'll talk about what those changes are. So the very first thing, jumping into the build, we are running 2-piece Balors. Right now, this build is a 5 medium, 2 heavy. You can actually run this as 5 heavy, 2 medium, because one of the armor sets that we're using is a heavy armor set, and the other one is a medium. And so if you want to run a medium armor loadout on this, you'll put the heavy armor set as your jewelry and weapons, or jewelry and then your chest and legs, which is what we have right now. So, and if you wanted a heavy armor version, then obviously put the heavy armor through your armor sets, and then the medium armor would be your jewelry and weapons. And so it works for all of that. We are fairly low in our weapon critical as well, so running Malakath's Band, we're not going to miss out on a lot of weapon critical. And right now we're in medium armor, so if you go heavy, you're going to see even less critical, right? So Malakath's Band is a great fit for stamina DK. I do not have that set up for this right now. We're actually going a different direction. But anyways, the sets we're running is Balors, and Balors, because we have ultimate up all the time, I wanted to get that additional, the 2-piece set bonus from the Balors is when you use an ultimate ability, you gain weapon and spell damage equal to the amount of the total ultimate consumed, and you gain physical and spell penetration 23 times. So we get penetration, and we're going to get weapon damage from this, and because we have ultimates all the time, will benefit from that all the time. Now, if you were going to run Malakath's Band on this, you would break up this set right here, and you would need to put whatever you're running right here, you'd need to put that up in your shoulders or your helm, so you'd break up your monster set if you wanted to add Malakath. And the trade-off is Malakath has 100% uptime with 25% more damage versus Balors that you benefit from it whenever you're doing an ultimate. And so you might want to compare those two. Maybe Malakath's the way to go on a StamDK right now, and anything other than that is less damage, right? Next set we are running is Champion of the Hist. This just got up buffed through Greymoor, and you can see the 2 pieces weapon damage, 3-piece max stam, 4-piece max stam, 5-piece max health, and that's the line that got added, was that max health onto this set. And then the other 5-piece gain minor heroism at all times while you are in combat, generating 1 ultimate every 1.5 seconds. And the important thing to know is you yourself don't need to be in combat with somebody. If you're in a group with people and they're in combat with something, you're just going to see your ultimate ticking up all the time. And so this is just a huge ultimate generation set right now. And you can see how I have a heavy piece in my chest and a heavy piece in legs. These are your large armor piece sets, right? Your legs, your chest, and your helm have the highest armor values. And so if you're going to do 2 heavy, like a 5 medium, 2 heavy, always put 2 heavy in one of those 3 spots, just for people that did not know that. The next set that we are running is Deadwater's Guile, and 2-piece on this is weapon damage, 3-piece on this is max health, 4-piece max stam, 5-piece is weapon damage, and then the other 5-piece, when an enemy dies within 2 seconds of being damaged by you, you gain 14 ultimate. I believe that goes up to 15 ultimate if all your Deadwater Guile pieces are gold, which I do not have all gold pieces currently. I gold that out and we'll be fine. But anyways, the important thing about that is on the 5-piece set, you yourself do not have to kill that creature or person, as long as they die within 2 seconds of you doing damage. So if you're in a death match or wherever, as long as things are dying and you're in the mix, you're going to be getting a lot of ultimate. Okay, so you pair up both of these sets together, Champion of the Hiss with Deadwater's Guile. It is amazing ult gen. If you're not going to run Malakath's Band and you are going to stick with a monster set, you don't want the monster set that gives you more weapon damage and more pen. I think that the build needs additional pen, so this is great, and the additional weapon damage, considering how often we ult, is a lot. This is a nice setup, but if you want even more ult gen, then go with Bloodspawn. Bloodspawn's gonna put you over cap on your resistances, even on your two-hander when it procs, and you're gonna have additional ult coming in often. So Bloodspawn might be a viable option for people as well. I'm running two-hander Maul, and it is Nirnhone, and then we got Sword and Board on the back bar. The poisons that I like to use on my Sword and Board bar are going to be the immobilization poisons, the trapping poisons. And the nice thing about this is I hard CC somebody, like I gap close into them. It'll stun them, and then I also hit them with a light attack, and hopefully between that we've applied our poison. So they'll break free of the stun, and yet they still can't move, and then you'll see them standing there bashing their weapon, trying to figure out why they can't move, and it's because the immobilization poison. So then they have to dodge roll or break free of that as well, and we're making it a resource fight, right? So Sword and Board on my back bar, I like doing that. This build can get up to 5k, over 5k weapon damage. I'm going to show you how we can do that. We're going to show you the stats here in a second too, buffed up and everything. But none of my jewelry currently is infused. And if you want to get basically another 300 weapon damage out of this build, infuse each of your jewelry. Okay, if you want to get another 300 400 weapon damage out of the build, put the weapon damage glyph on your two-hander, your primary weapon. And yes, you'd lose the disease damage glyph, but with the amount of damage and pressure that you put out on this build, it's not that big of a deal. But the additional weapon damage might be nice for lining up everything. But anyways, weapon damage glyph on this. If you want even more weapon damage, you want to hit over 5k, maybe 5400, and then infuse all of your jewelry. And I need to look and see what we're sitting at. You get 500 weapon damage from this, so actually I would have to say we're probably going to be closer to 6k. After you add these, you add the weapon damage glyph onto your two-hander, and then the weapon damage from Balor's, that's probably going to put you at 5500 to 6k weapon damage, so that's pretty nice. Anyways, let's look at the stats here real quick. We're on our two-hand bar. Alright, you can see our base weapon damage is 4400, and you can see our stamina recovery is fairly low. Let's look at our resistance here real quick. 30,000 on our two-hand bar for spell, and then 26 on our physical. Our crit resistance took a hit because of the changes to impen, right? Our stamina recovery is fairly on the low on this build. We are pretty heavy attack centric type build. We are going to line up some heavy attacks to get our offense off when we need to, and that's not that bad of a deal because our heavy attacks still thump pretty hard. But we live and die as a DK off of our battle roar passives. Every time we get an ultimate off, we get a burst of resources in the tank, so we can actually afford to run this low of recovery, stamina recoveries. See, our health recovery goes a little over 1,000 health recovery, and our mag recovery is fairly low as well. can see a little over 1,000, just under 600 there. Max Magicka 17,000, max health 29,000. That's great. Max stamina 32,000. And so if we were to infuse our jewelry, we would lose some max stam but gain more weapon damage. And you can see our penetration at 5,700, like I was saying, is a little bit low, but then Belores, when that procs, it'll put us at the 75 to 10k penetration. So that's good. Let's look at the abilities here real quick, and we're going to explain what we do here, and then we're going to dive into some of our passives so you can see some other places that we get some stuff back. We've got a 12k dizzy swing tooltip. That's nice. I also run reverse slice for the splash damage. We got venomous claw, 19k tooltip on that, and that's without Malakath's band, so this ends up being ridiculous with Malakath's band. And we have access to major and minor brutality on this build as well, so we'll talk about that. So hardening armor, I got this on my front bar for a reason. We'll get into that when we start talking passives. And then rally is a burst heal, and it gives us major brutality. Currently I have ferocious leap because we're going to be chaining off a bunch of BGs to get some BG footage of the build. So far I've been running around in the sewers and having fun with it, but at a 17k tooltip on this, it's not too bad, and we get that off often. Right, we are able to leap pretty much all the time, and that damage shield is going to keep us alive in PvP. And the thing about BGs, no CP versus CP Imperial City, where we're at currently, the tooltip is very close in no CP between Ferocious Leap and Take Flight. It's close. Okay, Ferocious Leap versus Take Flight. So you might as well go Ferocious Leap when you're chaining off BGs on a DK and get that damage shield, right? It could save your butt, keep you in the fight. So Ferocious Leap was the play. Looking on the back bar, I run in Shield Assault. This is my gap closer, and it's a hard CC, so I get both out of this. I really like that. I get a little baby damage shield out of it, and that's not too bad either. I'm running Noxious Breath. You can see it's got a 13k tooltip on it. Does 7,100 upfront damage, and that's great. 7,400 damage up front, and then the 13k, almost 14k tooltip with damage over time. And just between our Noxious Breath and Venomous Claw, that's a lot of pressure, right? 19k right there, and then what do we say back here? 14k, 13k. That's a lot of pressure, and we haven't even started dizzy swinging on somebody. So that, just these two abilities, Noxious Breath and Venomous Claw, if you can find a way to put those in the build, which I have here for this, it makes sense to run Malakath's band. And I might do an update to this if you guys have a hard time kind of visualizing what this is going to look like with Malakath's band on it. But almost every StamDK right now is currently running Malakath's band just because of these two abilities. Noxious Breath, add 25% more damage onto the tooltip that we had on that, right? Just 25% more damage because we're running Malakath. And then do the same for Venomous Claw. You know, add 25% more damage on top of all of that. Just those two abilities are just immense pressure before we've even started D-swinging on somebody. And next thing you know, because we're an ult gen build, we have a leap ready to go. And so, anyways, lots of pressure. We're running Igneous Shield. This is going to give us major mending, so an additional 25% healing. Our Resolving Vigor has an 18k tooltip. That's really nice. And we're running Cauterize, still leveling it. But you can see the heal from this is 6,300. And that goes off all the time. Let's look at it here real quick. Let's see what a Cauterize hits us for here. See our Vigor is about 1,800 on crit, and there's a base 3,300 cauterize, and we'll see if it'll crit here. There you go, 5k crit on cauterize. And of course, like I said, we could probably be 5,500 weapon damage, close to 6k weapon damage on this with the changes that we were talking about, and then how medium armor scales up, so that would get even higher on this build. This build, this ult gen build, is a serious contender right now for a lot of things. Run the ult gen build, put Malakast Band on it, and just absolutely wreck people right now on a StamDK. Couple things. So we looked at the gear, we looked at the stats buffed. Going through the abilities real quick, the buffs are going to fall off, but that's fine. The D-swing, we can apply off balance, and so if we channel another heavy attack, somebody that's off balance, it's going to stun them. That's good. But like I said, our reliable stun is our shielded assault. It's also our gap closer. And so regularly, my rotation is I'll make sure that I buff up, and then I'll gap close into somebody, stun them, hit them with a light attack, and then do Noxious Breath to get the dot going and major fracture on them. And then we can switch over. And so normally just kind of tooling around BGs or tooling around Imperial City, I'll be on my sword and board. Why would you not want to just be moving around on your sword and board bar where you have more resistances? And so when you look at that rotation, that's how we do it. And also our ultimate on our back bar, we didn't talk about it, but we're running corrosive armor, and at 200 ultimate, that's we reach that very quickly, right? And basically, if you've never used corrosive armor anymore, all incoming damage is limited to just 3% of your max health, and you're doing poisonous damage around you for 12 seconds. And while active, this ability and your direct damage dealt ignores enemy physical resistances. And so when you hit this and then continue to D-swing on people, it hits them very hard. So that's important to know. Let's see. Food. Mundus. A couple things too. My Mundus is currently here in Imperial City. Double check every single time you come into Imperial City, and about halfway through your outing when you're doing a food check or whatever, that your Mundus doesn't fall off. There's something going on in Imperial City right now, and maybe even Cyrodiil, I don't know. But my Mundus has disappeared 3 or 4 times. And then sometimes when I leave Imperial City, my Mundus will come back. And then just recently with this guy, I left Imperial City and my Mundus was gone completely. I had to go pick it up again. So there's something going on there. There's also something going on up in the districts where your gap closers stop working altogether. And you can't gap close to people. You can't target them with light attacks. And recently you cannot use potions in Imperial City. So all of that is awesome stuff. But anyways, just a couple things to watch for. We are running Bewitched Sugar Skulls. We want the max stats. If you wanted to change this and you wanted to get more stamina recovery, you could go Lavafoot, Soup, and Sultress. We could afford to lose the max health on this build. It would put us around the 25,000 max health, and we'd gain another 500 max stamina. You could also run Artaeum Takeaway Broth, and Artaeum Takeaway Broth, your health recovery would stay similar. You would gain an extra 300 to 400 stamina recovery. So when we're buffed up, that would put us over the 1k stamina recovery mark. That's fine. So those are 2 food options that you could do. You could also switch your Warrior Mundus Stone and go with, what is it, the Serpent, stamina recovery. So if you wanted to go that, and so change your food, change your Mundus, and you'll gain more stamina recovery. But hasn't really been a problem with how fast we get ultimates, and then we turn around and use that ultimate, and we get resources back in the tank because of our Battle Roar passive as a DK. And jumping into the class, I had mentioned that we've got hardened armor on our front bar. And the reason we have our hardened armor on our front bar is, while a Draconic Power ability is active, your healing received is increased by 12%. And I could probably move that to the back now that I think about it, because it doesn't say while slotted, You know, if it said while slotted, then it would need to be up on the front. So we might make a change there. But anyways, we're getting 12% more healing by whenever we activate this ability, and that's really nice. Another thing about that is too, 12% additional healing there, and then 25% additional healing there, and so we're stacking our healing capabilities on this. And then combustion passive's another way that whenever we do poison damage, we get stamina back. We apply poisoned to an enemy, you restore 500 stamina. And so we get the combustion passive very often with this build, between our venomous claw and our noxious breath, right? We're going to get that passive often. And another nice thing about the way I play this, you know how we had said that, okay, I gap close to someone, hard CC them, make sure I hit them with a light attack, and between one of those we're hoping that we apply our immobilization poison, right? Our trapping poison, so they break free of the stun, and now they're still rooted, and then they're bashing, and then they break free of that. Another nice thing about it is when you deal direct damage with an Ardent Flame ability, you reduce the enemy's movement speed by 30% for 3 seconds. And so if I gap close to them, hard CC them, also immobilize them with the poison, and hit them with a noxious breath, they're going to be slowed by 30% because of that passive. And so right at the start, we're basically forcing them to burn a bunch of stamina, and they're not going to be able to get away, at least for a couple seconds. So it allows us to put some damage into them, and that's a great way to open the fight. And we were talking about the Battle Roar passive. This is the ability that this ult gen build definitely plays into. When you cast an ultimate ability, you restore 50% health, 50 health, 46 magicka, and 46 stamina for each point consumed. And so this keeps us in the fight. That's great. And when you cast a non-stamina costing Earth and Heart ability, you restore 990 stamina. So basically when we cast an Igneous Shield, we'll burn some stamina here. Igneous Shield will put stamina back in the tank. Okay. One more thing on this too. If you want to run Werewolf on this, you can. The thing to keep in mind about this is this, because a lot of people are like, ooh, that's a lot of ult gen, so I can get to Werewolf very quick. Yes, you can. The only problem is once you are in Werewolf, and it's pretty easy as a pack master to maintain Werewolf indefinitely, once you are in Werewolf, your 5-piece of both armors, well, maybe not this armor set, but your 5-piece of, yeah, actually, your 5-piece of both armor sets is pretty much wasted once you are in Werewolf, because you're in Werewolf. You don't gain ultimate while you are in Werewolf. And so your 5-piece now no longer means anything, and your 5-piece here now no longer means anything. And so that's the only negative to running a Werewolf on an ult gen build like this. I do have Werewolf on this, but you might want to run different setups if you're going to play Werewolf. Or put Malakath's Band on it, run this setup, and just race to get Werewolf, and then chop them down with Malakath's Band. So let's jump into CP, wrap this up. 56 points into Warlord, so our break free is 20% cheaper. 4 points into Siphoner. It was a little point dump for me, but it gives them one extra thing to cleanse. I've got 64 points into Mooncalf, 64 points into Arcanist, 12 points into Tenacity. If you wanted to, you could take a couple points off of Arcanist and put it into Tenacity, but I kind of like where we're at right now. 47 points into Befoul. I would take these points off if you're not running Werewolf. I was testing that, and I left that there. But I would take these points out and put them into Tumbling. I'm not a block cast type person. I don't want to stand and hold block on this build. We're going to dodge roll to avoid a lot of damage or get out of some sticky situations, so we would need those additional points. So just move the 47 down to there if you're not going to run Werewolf. 37 points into Blessed for additional healing done. 47 points into physical weapon expert, so our light and heavy attacks do more damage. If you're a werewolf, keep this. If you're not going to be a werewolf, which, like I said, I was just practicing or playing this as a werewolf, I would take these 47 points and put them down here at Mastered Arms. That's going to increase all of your direct damage attacks. So your leap, your dizzy, and the initial damage of your noxious breath is going to be increased, and your gap closer, your shielded assault initial damage are all considered direct damage, and so you might as well bump those up. So take that 47, put it there if you're not going to be a werewolf. 56 points into Thaumaturge. This is important. This is how we're driving up the dot damage on our Noxious Breath and on our Venomous Claw. I would keep these points there. That is a metric ton of pressure, and if you add Malakat's Band, that's another 25% total damage on both those abilities. So we got 20% additional damage on our dots right now. 31 points into Precise Strikes. If you're using Malakath's Band, still keep these points in here because it says increase your critical damage, which we will no longer do with Malakath's Band, and critical healing, which we need to do. We need critical healing, so keep those 31 points in there. 50 points into Piercing and 56 points into Mighty. 61 points into Ironclad. That reduces all of the direct damage attacks from us. 59 points into Spell Shield, 60 points into Medium Armor Focus, because we are running a Medium Armor build right now. 15 points into Hardy and Elemental Defender, so we hit the Bulwark passive. When we are on our back bar on our Swording board, we want an extra 1500 resistances, and so that's nice. That'll help take us to cap on our back bar for resistances. Also, if you are going to do Werewolf on this build, put your Werewolf on your Swording board bar, and you'll gain the 10,000 Werewolf resistances, and because you went into Werewolf on your Swording board bar, you will also gain the 1500 resistances, and so that's pretty nice. Actually, I think it's an extra 3000 resistances. It's whatever the armor value is on your shield plus the 1500, and so that's how your resistances will jump up. Quick Recovery, 60 points into that, and might have a couple extra points into that. We're at 12.5. If you want to get that just over the 12% threshold and then put the extra points somewhere else, that would be great. That's our CP. Anyways, this is a very fun build. A lot of weapon damage can be achieved on this build. Like I said, you make those changes that we were talking about on this build, and you'll hit 5,500 6k weapon damage, no problem. Again, those changes are infuse your jewelry, add a weapon damage glyph onto here. If you want to add Malakath's Band right here, I would add Malakath's Band right here because I am a medium armor setup. If we put Malakath's Band here and get rid of this Champion of the Hist, that means that either the helm or the shoulder needs to be Champion of the Hist, which is a heavy armor, and it will screw up our 5 medium 2 heavy setup. So put Malakath's Band on Deadwater's Guile because it's a medium armor setup, and then just drop a medium armor Deadwater's Guile here or here, and you're good. And then, like I said, if you were running the heavy armor version of this, I would run Champion of the Hist here and Deadwater Guile here, or a version similar to that. The reason being is it's okay to run a 5-2 heavy medium. The second passive for armor, this one right here, increase your stamina recovery by 4% per medium armor. So you'd have 2 medium armor pieces if you did it right. So I would do medium armor belt, medium armor gloves. They're the lowest armor values. These two are. Those would be medium, and then everything else would be heavy. So you would run Champion of this Hist here and just kind of put it together that way. So stay kind of cognitive of what pieces fall where, but this setup can be both medium and heavy armor. As far as flex spots on the build too, For me, I like exactly where it's at right now. I wouldn't want to trade out Venomous Claw or Noxious Breath. I would not want to trade out Shielded Assault. It's my hard CC, fairly low cost. And if you wanted to get rid of your Gap Closer, that's also a hard CC, um, I would put Fossilize there, which is a huge Magicka expense. But Fossilize is going to do what we're accomplished with our poisons. Fossilize stuns the target and then immobilizes the target, and they have to break free of both. We've accomplished that through our poisons, right? I've already explained that a couple times, but we gap close to the target, which hard CCs them, and then apply this poison, and it's going to immobilize them. So we're already accomplishing that, so we don't need the huge magic expensive fossilize. This, however, is the best CC in the game because it's both a hard CC and a soft CC. Don't get me wrong with that, but we're accomplishing that with this. Anyways, that's the build, everybody. Alt Gen build, and throw it on your Mag DK. Drop Malakath's band on there and completely wreck people right now. You get ultimate very fast. Be safe out there. Have a good day.